Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Great Black Speakers Podcast, where we connect through conversation. I am your host, Lawrence Watkins. I am the founder and CEO of Great Black Speakers Bureau. I'm also the president and chief operating officer of the Black Business School. And today we have a very special guest. We've had her on before, and you guys love what she had to say. We're here back here with Amanda Spann. Amanda is an app entrepreneur and the founder of the app Accelerator, an online program and community that provides a framework to teach people how to build their first app. And today we're talking about how tech entrepreneurship has changed since COVID-19, especially for tech entrepreneurs of color. And Amanda, we are very happy to have you here today. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to talk apps and startups. It's a very interesting time for all of us, even those of us who were working in the space previously. But now, the landscape has changed for a lot of people. So I'm happy to pick up on this conversation and talk about what's next for building digital-based businesses.
Yeah, so for the people who missed the last interview, maybe it was like 6 months ago or something, tell the audience a little bit about, what you do and how you got to this point in your career.
Yeah, so I am an app entrepreneur. I actually started off my professional career as a publicist working in the entertainment industry, switched over to technology about a decade ago. And, when I kind of ventured into the tech industry, I imagine I was probably like a lot of your audience in that, you don't know what you don't know. Even if you have a professional career otherwise, tech can feel overwhelming, especially building a business in a new domain. But I started to kind of, forge away at it. And I eventually figured out how to build my first app. I've built 6 apps since then, and I've also done a lot of coaching and consulting all around the world. I've coached about 30,000 entrepreneurs on 3 different continents, surrounding, building their businesses, growing their businesses, learning about how to brand and position their businesses, and getting themselves from, idea and concept to creation. And so most recently, I decided to launch a program because I was getting emails, DMs, Facebook messages from people all over the world who said, hey, I read about your apps. I use your apps. I have an app idea too, but I have no idea where to start. And so I look back on when I started, how lonely of a process that was, how costly of a process that was, just spending my money on things that weren't of value to me and things that I thought I needed to invest in to have a successful app businesses, and being dead wrong about those things. And so I thought, Amanda, you went through that so they didn't have to. And so I've taken the time to kind of build out a framework for people that operates as a blueprint that gives them a roadmap for building their first app. It provides you with all of the resources you need to, take your app idea from concept to creation, and provides you with tools, resources, and education surrounding all of the need to knows before you invest $20,000 in an app that doesn't work or doesn't serve your purposes or meet your goals.
Got you. What's your website again?
It's ihaveanappidea.net.
All right, so I have an appidea.net. Please make sure you guys check out Amanda and her company there. So sorry, I have to sneeze, but it's not coming. So I'm just gonna fight through it. Right. Yeah, it took me for a few seconds. I was like, okay, I don't know if it's coming or not, but here we go. Let's jump right into it. If you want to know more about Amanda and just her story, her broader story, I'll place a link in the description after this interview where you can go check that out and check out just her complete story. But I just want to jump into tech entrepreneurship. So, how has tech entrepreneurship changed since the start of COVID-19?
I think the biggest thing is, a lot of us were already working online, but now we have to kind of support the shift of those who are working, or excuse me, a lot of us were already working online, but a lot of us have to support the shift of those who are working offline, and supplement for that change, and help people on board. And so there's a big learning curve amongst our colleagues who are working in a different capacity. I also think people, as far as actual products are concerned and services, people are having to think strategically about pivoting their company to the new way of the world. We're optimistic that there'll be a cure for COVID and coronavirus soon, but we don't know when that that end is in sight, right? We don't know when that is coming. And so brick and mortar businesses and even tech businesses that operated in a capacity where there might have been some human interaction or some type of, interaction where there might be a transmission of the virus, they have to think about operating in a whole different capacity and supplementing for that. I take Airbnb for an example. I mean, we all were using Airbnb ahead of this. I mean, I can't remember the last time, I opted for a hotel first over an Airbnb, and now their business has dramatically taken a hit. But they've already started to make pivots and adjustments to our new normal with offering, digital services and offerings. They were already having Airbnb experiences, and now they're digital and online experiences, and they're giving their large platform and leaning to digital creators to provide content for them to sell online in a live way, as opposed to in person and face-to-face experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing a lot about that. So, from a broad tech perspective, two things that keep coming up when I just listen to different podcasts. One is the consolidation of power of the really big players in tech, like your Apples, your Googles, your Facebooks, your Amazons, that are just kind of consolidating power. And, from a stock perspective, that's what's keeping the market afloat. But then also, I think you are seeing that in tech, a lot of these companies, it's like the emperor has no clothes, right? Where let's say like Airbnb, who is ran by a great entrepreneur, I'm a great founder, but tech companies have always positioned themselves as like these lower cost types of ways to just make more profit, and yet they couldn't really pivot that easily when COVID hit as well. So what are your thoughts about, I guess, the macro trends going on in the tech industry right now?
I think it takes time, right? So I think people are trying to figure it out. And I think it feels like this has been a lot longer than it has been, right? Because we've all been hunkered down in our homes and we've had to make huge shifts and adjustments, and we haven't been interacting with people, but it really has only been like 3-4 months for most of us, right? And that's not an incredible amount of time to make a full pivot or to know if this is actually going to be the future of your company, right? Some companies, their models lended themselves to be able to do that. For example, there's a company called Fixer based in Chicago, created by the former founder of Grubhub. And Fixer, what they do is they offer a training program for skilled professionals who are blue collar, plumbers, those who fix, appliances and things like that, electricians. They offer them a skilled training program so that they can get immersed in the skills of the day. They get up-to-date skills. They learn how customer service, customer support, and how to interact, and best practices for just interacting with customers in addition to enhancing their skills. And then they act as not only a marketplace for them to source their skills out, but they also act as an employer. So instead of having to operate in a freelance capacity anymore, they get full benefits in addition to ongoing training. Now with that, people are afraid for people to come into their homes right now. And so they started offering virtual consultations. So if that sink breaks while you are in lockdown, you can get a virtual consultation on how to get it fixed. And they've gone through a training process. So if someone actually does need to come into the home, but that type of business lend itself, just the structure of the business and the nature of the business enabled them to pivot very, very quickly. There are other businesses that are structured in other ways where they can't do that quite yet. And so I think only time will tell. I think it's going to take them a little bit more time. And I was actually just talking to a VC yesterday about how they're managing their portfolio and what their companies are looking like right now. And they're like, we really can't say it's really going to be another 6 to 12 months before we know if this is actually a trend or if this is just what people were doing to be scrappy.
Got you. I guess that leads into a really good question in terms of VC funding. Can you talk about that a little bit in terms of how VCs are looking at COVID? Are they tightening their own belts in terms of giving out funding for startups, or are they more generous with cash at the moment because they see this opportunity to invest?
Companies are still definitely funding. I will say that, like, I think a lot of people were afraid, especially people who were on the verge of a raise or, in the midst of a raise, were worried about like people tightening their purse strings. People are still fundraising, people are still giving out capital. So first, don't worry about that. I think I'll address that first from the perspective of a founder, and then secondly from the perspective of an investor. As a founder, I think you definitely need to double down and be more strategic about who you're asking capital from. Some funds definitely have kind of remained virtually untouched, right? Whereas, an angel might not be in the best position to give you funding right now. They may be thinking about their own interests, their own families, their own obligations, which is totally understandable and totally feasible. So really being strategic about the people that you actually approach. And this is something you should just do anyway, due diligence, and figure out which funds will invest in your type of companies. But also thinking strategically about the type of solution you have, and like who might in particular right now be looking for companies that are addressing problems with COVID, right? Because if you have a solution in that range, there are tons of funding opportunities for you right now. This is your moment. So really double down on that, really look into who might be, giving out funding, reach out to them, build those relationships. And who's to say that in 6 months, things might not be turned around and investors might be, generous with their pocketbooks. I think from the investor's perspective, people are definitely cautious right now. They're still spending, they're still making investments, but they're looking for more of sure bets. So they're looking for companies that are either addressing the current COVID issues, or can operate in spite of them and have shown resiliency, and a plan of action to address these things. And they are always, of course, looking for companies that are going to yield them a 10x return. So I think it's not necessarily that they're being more tighter with their purse strings, but they are just being a little bit more precise about who they're investing in. And I think they're having to split their allocation of time is a little different now, right? Because now, where a hands-off VC might previously have been like, oh, well, I don't have to check in with my startups every day. They now have to look at their portfolio of existing startups and say, okay, how are they doing, right? Like, how do I salvage these investments? How do I ensure that they're around in a year? Right? Because a lot of companies are burning cash. I think back to the startup again, I think this is also an opportunity for all of the startups, every entrepreneur to think about how can I make my business a little bit more lean, because we don't know what the future is going to hold for us as far as COVID is concerned, or any other pandemic, or what the world will look like in 6 months to a year. And so, operating in a lean fashion in which you are saving money, where you're giving yourself a little bit more runway, it does a service to you, and it shows investors that you are thinking strategically about the future of growth.
Let's talk about that too then, though. So we've talked a little bit about getting investors, or like from an investor's perspective, and let's say VC-backed companies. But let's talk about the indie entrepreneurs, the independent entrepreneurs out here who want to create apps. What types of opportunities are out for them, out there for them right now to maybe not have a unicorn, or create a unicorn, which is $1 billion valuation company, but create a zebra, that's a company that's very profitable, from the jump, and can sustain a person's family and their lifestyle. So can you talk about that a little bit in terms of what opportunities in terms of micro markets there are right now?
Yeah, I think there are incredible opportunities. I mean, what's interesting about what's happening with the market right now is that the average everyday consumer is still pretty much spending, right? It's still spending like normal. But the wealthy are kind of holding on to their purse strings. So business is kind of business as usual for everyone who is who's primarily running a digital-based business, as opposed to a brick and mortar business. So I think this is an incredible opportunity to kind of double down on, spending more time at home, having a few more hours at your discretion, where you might have been going out to an event or a happy hour or whatnot, to double down on education. I myself have enrolled in probably 3 or 4 courses over the past few weeks to learn more about all types of trading and becoming a better entrepreneur, becoming a better marketer, and things like that. Because I had always been thinking about doing these things. I just hadn't had the time to do this. And now stillness has enabled me to invest in my education in that way. So I think this is an incredible opportunity for those who are thinking about creating an app or a digital-based business to, one, double down on education, figure out what you don't know, and align with programs that will enable you to teach you that over time, right? And two, I think as far as apps are concerned, there's a lot of really great starting points, and we walk through a lot of them in the App Accelerator. But two I want to mention today is, one, hybrid apps. There are a lot of no-code solutions for those who are more scrappy, those who want to build an app themselves, or use a drag and drop tool to cultivate an app. And this is great for people who want low barriers to entry, who want a low cost solution and coming into it. Like, let's say I only have $500, I only have $1,000 to spend. I want to go in and make this small investment and to either turn my website into an app, or take my brick and mortar business that's traditionally operated in person, and create a platform where we can be available to everyone in the world and at everyone's fingertips by lending a mobile app. Now, something you have to be mindful of with hybrid apps and when you use no-code solution is that you're essentially licensing an app, right? You are licensing a platform's technology, and they are providing you with an app in exchange for your monthly or quarterly fees that you may be paying with them. You don't actually own that app outright. However, if you're just starting off, you're just getting your feet wet with apps, this might be a great solution for you to get started. Who I strongly recommend this for is for people who are already in business in some capacity, who want to either expand their business in a digital capacity, or who want to conduct their business in a new way, right? So for example, a person we have in our program right now is a chiropractor. And he is thinking about, okay, well, I'm still going to have to conduct my business in person because I'm a chiropractor, but I want to offer additional education and information to all of my clients outside of this, because they may not be coming in as much. And so I want to provide resources to them. And then when they do book me, I don't want to have them, I don't want to have to put my secretary at risk for her coming in and out of an office. I would rather, do virtual bookings where they can just come and book through the app. That could be done with a hybrid app. That could also be done with a native app, which is an app that is geared for one platform over another, like an app that's specifically for Android or specifically for iOS. But those apps tend to be a little bit more costly, but they're a little bit, or for the purpose of this conversation, bespoke. They're custom apps. You can have built whatever you want built. Then the challenges with hybrid apps oftentimes is that you're using templates. So they're not as sexy on the design side. They tend to be a little bit clunky. They don't operate as quickly. But if you're just looking for a quick solution and to get up and running while you're in quarantine and in lockdown, I think this is a great option for you. And we actually just partnered with an amazing hybrid app producer to help people to either build an app on their own if they want to go the hybrid route, or our solution provider will build an app for them, one for the App Store, one for the Play Store, for $2,500.
Got you. That's a great deal. So they can, build a hybrid app for you for $2,500, and that's a partnership with your company. I have an app-idea.net. Is that correct? The App Accelerator.
Correct. That's correct. So once people are enrolling in the program, we make this deal kind of available to them, and that's $2,500 on a payment plan. So you're not having to come out of pocket up front from $2,500. You are paying that over time. And I strongly encourage anyone who's going to build an app, regardless whether you're building a hybrid app or a native app, most developers will provide you with a payment plan. And all of our developers in our program, we have, in addition to having the curriculum where we teach people the business of apps, what designing an app looks like, what developing an app looks like, what the marketing, maintenance, and management of an app looks like. We also have a developer directory where we refer developers from all over the world, depending on your budget, your price point, what type of app you want to build. If you want a Black-owned business, building your app. If you want a woman-led business, building your app. Whatever is important to you, we try to honor that and provide you with referrals that will make a good fit for you.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Well, before we get out of here, do you have any, I guess, last piece of advice for people who want to get started? One, where should they go to, get in contact with you, and then what should they be doing right now as the very first step?
I think as a very first step, they should just be thinking about outlining and narrowing down on the problem itself, right? I think, oftentimes we are in our own heads and we're in our own way. And we're paralyzed by fear because we're just not sure if our idea is good enough, if our idea, has validity, if it's going to cost us too much, if it's going to take too much of our time. And we can work through all of those things, right? But you just kind of have to commit to taking the first leap. And so I would encourage you to kind of just double down on your problem, really hone down on what you think you want to do, and then start investing in some education, whether that's with me or with someone else. Start taking that first step to learn a little bit more about what it might take to actualize your dream. And I'm willing to bet it's not as much as you think it will be. But sometimes when we get caught up in our heads, we get lost in that. So, our program actually offers free access. So we answer all of those questions for you up front. And if you decide that was of value to you, you want to continue with us, then you can enroll at any point, but we don't hold anybody to that. And so right now, if you go to the website, if you just sign up, we will be enrolling people in the next few weeks. You again will get free access. There will be no cost associated. You don't have to sit through a free webinar. I'm not going to take you through that funnel or anything like that. If you want to enroll and you're curious about building an app, come get those FAQs and learn a little bit more about what it takes to actualize an app. And then if you decide you want to move forward and this is a commitment that you can make, then we can get you set up with the program and get you a developer and you can follow along the way. If you are interested in contacting me directly, you want to set up a one-on-one, you can definitely hit me up on Instagram. That's probably the best way to contact me, Instagram or Twitter. You can just, hit the link in my bio. There is opportunities to set up a one-on-one with me. You can send me a DM. I read and respond to every last one of them. So definitely hit me up and we can set up a time where we can talk one-on-one and get you started. But otherwise, if you want to get started with it, just visit ihaveanapidea.net, get signed up and get on our mailing list, and we will be sending out a link for free and open enrollment very, very soon.
Perfect. And we're also thinking about having Amanda do a master lecture within the Black Business School on this topic of how to create your app idea. So if you want that, please make sure you comment in this video and let us know, because we look at your feedback in regards to how we prioritize the different master lectures that we do within the Black Business School. All right, so before you get out of here, please make sure that you like this video, share this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well if you would like to receive more Black financial content. So on behalf of Amanda Spann, my name is Lawrence Watkins. You guys take care, be blessed, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.